Okay, folks, so what I've done is I've cut a piece of Canson watercolour paper down in half. It was an A3 sheet, and it's cold pressed watercolour paper. I'll explain in another video or in the comments below the difference between cold and hot press. I'm also using some beautiful watercolour paints that I think I bought these overseas. Those are the colours, but if you have a look here, you'll be able to see the beautiful colours as I've indicated them when I painted them up beside their names. So the brand is Kuretake. I think they're Japanese, if I'm not mistaken. That's Kuretake. Beautiful watercolour paints that I use. I'll pop them on the side there. I also use Faber-Castell colouring pencils, which are watercolour. They're the Albrecht Dürer range. I've got a number of those, and from time to time I also use my watercolour Pentel crayons. They're called, believe it or not, watercolour pastels. There's also a white in the range, which is probably floating around somewhere, so I'll be using those as well. And I've got a number of different brushes that I use. This one I do use as well. It's got water in it, which is quite a magical little thing. If I can just open it. I've popped water in there already. There we go. And it's got a beautiful nib to use. So those are the things that we'll be using. I've got no idea, as I said, what I'm actually going to start with, but we'll see. It may either turn out really well or a horrible mess. I think we might go with greens and blues today. Do I feel like greens and blues, or pinks and lavenders, which is my usual? We'll go with a lavender. So this pencil is cobalt blue, and for a start I'm not actually going to plan what I'm doing. I just think I might okay, let's do a circle there. We might do a bit of this over here, maybe something to balance it over this side just for the moment. I do like squares as well. I love circles, I love squares. So as you can see, I'm just having a bit of fun on the paper. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Well, that's no big deal at this point. I might just colour in a little bit more over here. Maybe do another circle that comes around here just for a bit of added interest. We might make it go behind those guys. It's not a great circle, but doesn't matter. And I think we might do another one that's coming off the page. How does that sound? All right, that's doing something for me already. How about we add a little bit of pink? Yep, can't go without my pink. Got to have pink in there. So we might actually go for a bit of pink around the outside. Just do a bit of scribble. Scribble is good too. There we go. It's taking some sort of shape. It's nothing spectacular, but it's more the process that I really wanted to show you, that, you know, even though I've got a blank piece of paper when I start, I don't really mind the blank paper. I know it frightens a lot of people, and I've seen lots of videos on it frightening a lot of people, but for some reason it doesn't do that for me, because I don't really have any expectations when I start. I just start, and if it works out well, terrific, yay for me, and if it doesn't start too well for me, oh well, never mind. All right, so I might go with this water pencil to start with, just to show you what it actually does and how it works. Can you see that? How easy. It couldn't be any easier. So do that, a little bit around here. How's your day been? Mine was a lot of interesting conversation with my dear cousin. She's more like a mother to me, always has been. She's 95 years old this year, 95, and unfortunately she has advanced dementia. I'd love to get her painting, because, you know, it wouldn't matter what she drew, just to have some fun, but unfortunately with her advanced dementia, you know, each day is a challenge for both her and us. But nevertheless, we went over for a visit. She's in a nursing home, and today she thought she was in a hotel and she wasn't sure if they had a swimming pool. So you know, I mean, if you don't laugh, you cry. So, you know, you just go with the flow and say, oh, yes, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the swimming pool today, darling. I'm not sure whether it's there, whether this hotel has one. Gotta laugh when she thinks she's in a hotel. I mean, that's just really cute. So, you know, with dementia, for those of you who have never had to deal with it, God bless you. Those of you that do, well, then you'll know when I say it's a challenge, and it can be what you make it, you know. You can take it as a bit of fun, not taking the fun out of her, but joining into her fun, and having a giggle with her, or with your loved one who might be suffering from dementia. But I can just imagine if I could only get her interested to, you know, sit down with me with a paintbrush and play with some paints and some waters, you know, water rather, she might actually find she's having fun. Take her back to her childhood, which wasn't fun because her teenage years or her younger years were during World War II. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of fun to be had at that time. But, you know, this could be something. I'm going to try and introduce it to her, but so far I've had no interest whatsoever. Okay, so can you see what's happening here? I'm not really thinking as I'm yakking to you, and I don't even know whether anyone's going to watch this video and, you know, find it of interest. But nevertheless, I hope you don't mind my rattling on. So here we go. I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit further. And as you can see, it's actually creating not a bad look. As I say, no expectations. It was just, let's have some fun and let's see what we can do with this. Oh, I think this could become quite nice. All right, I'm going to swap from that pen now, from that brush, just to show you how different brushes do react. I'll just dob this brush into my bottle of water. It's not clean. I used it earlier. It's a size 10 round. Yes, it's a size 10 round. And I'm just going to dibby dob it in there. And what will I do? I might put a little bit of this, which is the red rose madder. But what I don't want to do is I actually don't really want it to come out too strong. So what I'm going to do is just grab my palette here. This is my little palette here. Now this is great because you can mix colours in here and do all sorts of things, and you can use it next time, because with watercolour it doesn't really matter. You see, you can just reactivate what you used last time. So I'll just add a bit more water, but I'll do it over here. Take that and just pop it over here, because I actually don't want this to be too strong. We'll see what happens. There you go. See, it has got more pigment than the pencil, but it's also very pretty. I quite like that. Now, let me show you what happens if I just add a little bit of water to this with no colour on it, and we'll come back and see what it's done. Oh, you can actually already see it. Can you see those little circles of... they remind me of snow. Snow actually has lots of little tendrils like this. Like that. I think that's very pretty. Okay, we'll leave that for a little bit. We'll let it dry and we'll see what happens and how much it moves. Now the other thing is that you can go over watercolour. You see? There's some blue there, and I'm actually just going over it very loosely. So we'll just colour that in, and we'll put a little bit more over here. I might need to get some more colour from over here. Pop it there. Okay, here's a little bit more going on. Okay, I like that. I think I'll leave it as is. Change colour. I don't often wash my brushes when I change colour, but it's not a bad idea sometimes. And I think I want a bit of a lavender. Now this is probably going to be a bit too blue for my liking. So I'll put it in here with the pink, and I'll just mix up that. Now, did you know you can actually mix watercolours? So you can make your own colours. So I'm going to put a bit of that rose madder in there with my number 61, which is light ultramarine, pale ultramarine is what it's actually called. And I might add a bit more, whoops. Okay, Okay, that should be fun. I'll just add a little bit more water to that because, again, I don't want it really strong. And we might go over here. Now, you can see the pink underneath from the pink circle that I had, and that's actually just blending away. So what's really beautiful about using watercolour pencils is that if you know what you're trying to create, you can use watercolour pencils rather than, say, a lead pencil. Do your sketch in advance on your paper, and then once you activate it with water, it will dissolve the pencil for you, the pencil line. So there you'll have a nice lot of sketch lines for you to follow, and they'll just disappear. You don't have to worry about them showing up underneath. And of course, if that is your purpose, to show them underneath, well then perhaps use a different type of pencil, not a watercolour one. Okay, so let's just go over here, do my little bits of scribble that I did there. Scribble and scroll, da-da-da, bit over here. Meanwhile, this is all drying nicely, and we're going to do some more layers on the top. And you'll see what it actually does when you do the layers. I think this is quite pretty in the colours. I like it. We'll go around this one. I'm using a fairly wet brush at the moment. Lots of different techniques can be found by using, oh dear, I'm having a bit of a mess there. Lots of different techniques can be found by using a drier brush, making the paper wet first. A lot of watercolour artists really love using a wet on wet technique. As you can see, what I'm using at the moment is pretty much wet on dry. So my paper underneath is dry. I haven't wetted it at all. And as you can see, I'm just blending these colours together a bit. I'm really liking this. It's really very pretty. So if you do wet on wet, for example, okay, let's wet that piece down just there. We'll wet it down. It's not too wet. It's not drippy or anything. And we might add a little bit of, let's go with this one. This one's called Rose Madder Deep. So it's in the same family, but it is different. Now, can you see what's happening with that? The paper was wet first, and you can see the pigment appears quite strong. And, you know, it would move around if I'd have made a much bigger piece of wet paper, which I didn't. But there you go. So again, I can make it a bit wetter there, stretch it out a bit, make it a bit paler. There we go. How's that? Oh, enjoying doing this. It's nice. It's very relaxing. Okay, let's go with some lavender again. We'll just put some up here. So the whole purpose of this was to say, don't be frightened of that white paper. Just start, and it will just grow like topsy. There we go, a little bit up there, and we might add some more. I've just got to check whether this is acrylic. No, that's some beautiful watercolour there. I might go down here. Now this is dry, wet on dry, and I'm just blending the colours around. But I think you get the general drift of what I'm doing. My whole purpose here was not to create an absolute masterpiece, although I'm going to keep working on this because I'm actually loving the colours, and I love how subtle it's in there, how these little white spots here that look like, to me anyway, they look like snowflakes. And I'm going to add some more, I'll probably do some doodling over the top, some more shapes and things. I'll just leave the brush for a minute because this is relatively dry enough for me to go back with, okay, Albrecht Dürer, Faber-Castell, and this is a beautiful Delft blue colour. So I'm just going to go in there. Remember, this is watercolour, so I can leave it if I wanted to, or I can go over it with water. And don't be too hard on yourself. If your lines aren't perfectly straight, it really doesn't matter. It's art, and it's what you make of it. If you don't like it, guess what? You just go over the top of it. And that's where I said to you today in the beginning, this may work out beautifully, yeah, or it mightn't. And it really doesn't matter. If you're having fun, that's what matters. And look, there you go. Just created different design. And you can see that the lavender has gone over the top of the blue. And so therefore you can actually do layering, which is another beautiful thing with creating different designs, is by layering. And each time you go over a layer of the, say, watercolour, have a look what happens. It just gives it a bit of a depth to it. And look what's happened over here. That's gorgeous. That has just blended with the water that was there. And I think that's really pretty. So we'll just go back over here. Is that dry? Yeah, that's dry over there. But my aim here is just to make sure that I'm pretty much covering most of the white space. Now, leaving negative space, known as white space, oh, look at that, a bit of a drop of water, no big deal, is actually not a bad thing. You know, having some white space can be really empowering in the image as well. So don't think for 1 minute that, oh my God, I've got white space, holy Toledo, I better, you know, blob it in. It doesn't have to be blobbed in. It's really quite okay. I might add a bit more pink in there. And you'll see that every layer just adds a bit more dimension. Take your time, go fast, whatever floats your boat, as they say. Oh, a little bit of a hair in there. It's gone. Oh, no, it's not. It's back. There we go. Okay, so a bit of that up there. We might do a bit of a circle around here. I might even come back with a darker colour, a pink or something, a darker pencil. And we might actually do some lines in there. I'm quite liking what I'm doing there, so we might just do another one. Here we go. Okay, and again on the same sort of scale, we might do a bit of a circular thing. And I'm going to let that one run right off the page. Why? Because I can. I might let it come back again too, just to add a bit of something. Okie doke. And again, it may get covered by another layer, or it may not if it works well. Might do some circular or ovular sort of pieces right about there. Now, I don't know whether you know this, but, and this is something I learned through floristry, which many of you don't even know that I did in the past. Had a stint owning a florist. Don't do anything in even numbers. So if you're going to do 4, don't do 5. It will always look unbalanced. Once you get into the bigger numbers, it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing something that's easily counted, don't do your best not to do 2. So do 3 or 5 or 7 and so on. Once you get up to the 7, 9s and so on, it doesn't matter. But 3 will look a lot more balanced. Now we've got 5 there, so I think we'll leave 3 over here. Now, I think we'll do something a little bit different. We might go around these boxes. Just again, here we go. Are you painting along with me, or are you just watching? Let me know in the comments. Now, I know that everybody on YouTube says, you know, hit my subscribe button and la 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 la. I don't know how many of these videos I'm going to do. It really depends on comments, I suppose. If people like my rabbiting on, and like listening to the rubbish that I that I talk about, you know, then it might be worth subscribing to my channel. But right now, I'll just be happy with the fact that, you know, there might be a few people who have paid attention and decided they want to have a look at what I'm doing. So thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate it. Drop a thumbs up and a comment if you like. You know, get off the airwaves, Lindy. Or, hey, this isn't too bad, keep going. I'd appreciate it, and I'd probably, hopefully get a bit of a giggle out of it too. There we go. How's that looking? I'm not too disappointed with that. I'm actually quite chuffed. Might do a circle here, I think, and we'll colour this one in. What do you think, pink or lavender or blue? Shall we do blue? I think we'll go for lavender. Although my lavender is sort of starting to turn a little pink because I haven't washed the brush. But that doesn't matter because it's all good. There we go. It's a little bit wet, so we'll see what happens to that one. In fact, we might even just do another circle inside here. There we go. Did I mention already that I'm using a number 10 brush? And let me tell you something else. I'm no fantastic artist, but I will tell you that I've noticed a difference using brushes. I've got tons of brushes, and many of them have been used in craft things as opposed to particularly doing art as such. And I think I need to replace a lot of my brushes. I have got one which I've got to tell you I love using for watercolour, but it's bigger than the one I'm using now, even though it's still a 10. This particular one is, as you can see, it's bound differently. There you go. And this is squirrel hair, and I love it, particularly when I'm using watercolours. It holds a lot of water or a lot of colour, and I love it. But because I'm sort of doing more finer things at the moment, that's why I'm not using it. I've just added some water to the purple that I had in here, and I just think I might run around here with the purple. Let's see what that does. Now, it's very tempting to go really fast when you're doing these, but if you go slower, I personally find that I've got much better control. Whoops, we're going the wrong way. Oh no, we were doing the right thing there. Never mind, we'll fix that. Much better control over the brush. Now, I've done a whoopsie there, but I'm not particularly perturbed. It's going to come back around, and I do need to reload my brush. So this time we'll go where we were meant to go. That doesn't look like it's going to spread very far. I probably need more water. There we go. Okay, more water on the brush. We've gone off the page and back again. There we go. That's not actually doing it a lot for me, but that's okay. Never mind. I'm not fussed. I'll find some way to repair it. There we go. Let's do some purple in there, a bit in there. Well, I'm thinking it needs something over here. So we might do some nice big lines. And I think nice and bold. Bold lines. There we go. There's one. Let's do another one. And the way to get that nice thin line at the bottom is by flattening out your brush and lifting it. Okay, let's do the next one. Again, I'm going to have 3 on this one. Flatten out the brush and lift. And if you really want to be pedantic, just fix it up that little bit, but you don't really need to. There we go. There we go. Now, rather than doing what I'm doing, and that is going over, I'm going to let it dry because I can then go back over it and do another layer. As you can see, it's already differentiating. That side's a bit darker. Might do that again. And do another bit of a darker side on that one. Okay, there we go. And because we've got some purple over there, I think I'd like to do something here. So I'm going to go like that. Oops. And another one. And we might just reload again and do another one. And I quite like the fact that this one's going over onto that white area. There we go. So I might do a little bit more doodling. I'll turn off now and I'll come back when I've done a bit more to show you. So I've just done a little bit more. I've done a bit of a stencil there. I've also used some crayons over here and here and here, and a little bit around there. I've used some white over there. The crayons that I'm using are these Pentel water pastels. And I just find that they give a bit of a fun look to the image, to the design, whatever you want to call it. There we go. Might do a little bit more pencil work, which I might leave dry. I don't know yet. I quite like that. I might do another one in here. Since we're going with the flow, we might as well do this one as well. So there we go. All right, I've done some white dots, which some of them have taken up the blue pigment. It's okay, no problems there. No problems whatsoever. And as you can see, because I've done lots of layers, some of the images from behind are coming through. And that's okay that they're in the background. I really don't have a problem with that. I like it. Okay, so I think I might just pop a bit of pink in between these bars. Look a bit like prison bars to me. And we might put a little bit of the blue, which was the Albrecht Dürer, Albrecht Dürer cobalt blue. I might come in here. Now, if you like that stencil look, let me know in the comments and I'll do a video on how that was achieved. I'm just going to use my water brush in here for just a moment. I just want to just fuzzy that up a bit more. There we go. Oh, that's better. I like that. There we go. A bit more fuzzy. What else can we do? Oh, I know what would be nice. Now, just because I've used watercolour here doesn't mean for 1 minute that you can't use other techniques or other paints. If you want, you can go over it with some acrylic paint, and I think I might do a little bit of that right now. I'm just going to take a squirt of gold paint into my palette, which I'll just do over here. When I say a tiny little squirt, it just fell out, so that's perfect because I don't really want very much. And what I'm going to do with my little bit of gold, now this is an acrylic paint. I could, in theory, use my metallic pen, which will just give this a go. I got this one on Amazon. So can you see? I'm actually going over the blue watercolour because I decided I like the gold idea. So I'm just going over that blue, which will give it a bit of a pop. I might do the same on the other line. And I may even do one more in there. I might do some gold circles over the top of everything. I like the fact that that one's come off the page. I might just do the same over there. And how about some gold in the middle of these circles? There we go. I don't know whether it's going to show up nicely on the camera that this has got gold throughout it, but we'll see. Gold dots down here. Now, if you're a person who loves doodles like I do, and like my friend Ruth in the US, now there's the queen of doodles. Ruth, call out to you. Ruth is amazing. So if you're like us and you like doing doodles, then this is where you could just absolutely go berserk. I can see Ruth thinking to herself, oh, Lindy, do a bit there and a bit there and a bit there. Ruth can't help herself. She's beautiful. All right. So there we go. A bit more gold. And one thing that you will find is that if you used oil pastels at all rather than watercolour, your acrylic will not cover it. It won't stick to it. So that's something I learnt a while back. And don't be tempted to pick up any. I've got oil pencils and oil pastels and all sorts of things. But yeah, don't be tempted, because if you're going to use those, you won't be able to use acrylic. Just do a bit more doodling around here. Now I could sit here and doodle till the cows come home, which I think would probably bore you to no end to watch. So I may just leave you at this point while I just finish off this little one. And I hope that through watching this, you've realised that you have absolutely no fear of the white paper, because at the end of the day, if you've had fun and it didn't work out, well, big deal, doesn't really matter. And if you've created an absolute masterpiece, well, that's hallelujah, fantastic. And, you know, you just don't know what will come, because sometimes the colours will do their own thing. So even though you might have had the best ideas of what you think you're going to do, well, you know, many a time I've done things and they've totally turned out quite differently. There we go. How's that coming along? Oh, now I think I've just seen a spot where I must do this. Experiment, play with the pens, play with your paints, play with your brushes. Have a go. Don't worry if your lines aren't perfect. I believe that that's called whimsical. Yeah? Can I get your help for 2 minutes? Okie dokie. I've been called. I need to go, and I'll get back to you. Okay. We fixed the tractor. That's what hubby called me for. He needed a spare pair of hands. It's not always like that. You're in the middle of doing something, and dear man of your life calls out and says, "Darling, I need you." Oh, well, I suppose it's better than not being needed. Now, where was I? Other than doodling with my gold doodle pen. Now, I have to tell you, this doodle pen, this gold one, is the best I've found. Now, I don't get anything for recommending or whatever, but I do like to say what I use that works. And these are the best ones I've found on AliExpress. This particular brand, metallic pens. I get them in gold and silver, and I love them, as you can tell. Here we do, a couple of bit more squiggles. And then we're going to do the big reveal and see what it looks like when we take off the masking tape. Because one thing about masking tape is that you don't want to leave it on for too long, because it's a rotter to get off afterwards. Now, just as I'm looking at this, I can see an area where I would like to add just a little bit of something. So I'm just going to get my blue pastel, watercolour pastel. I'm not going to water it down, but I do just want to add a couple of scribbles. There we go, a little bit of that. A little bit of that. Down here a little bit. Down here. I just feel as though that balances it a little bit. It needed something, and I think I found it. And you will too. You'll find, I think I just need a little bit of something. Don't be scared. Go for it. Just do it. If it isn't perfect, it doesn't matter. There's always another piece of paper There we go. Have I forgotten anything? Can anyone see anything that I should have done? Or have I done too much? Again, love to hear your comments. I tend to create generally fairly busy pieces because that's me. I'm always busy doing something. Yeah, I think I'm going to call that quits. Now, let's do the reveal. Okie dokie, here we go. Pull your masking tape off away from the picture. Now, sometimes you will take a little bit of paper, which is a little bugger, but it happens. So do it slowly. Hold the paper down. Pull the masking tape off away from the direction that the paper is. So we'll do this one next, since it's right there. Away from the paper direction. And again, nice and slowly, holding it. Luckily it wasn't on for too long, so as a result, it's not giving me too much grief. But you know what? You can do 3 sides perfectly, and then this rotten masking tape will decide, you know what? We've given her an easy go on the last 3 sides. Let's really put it to the task on the last one. Now, just because you take off the masking tape, by the way, doesn't mean that you can't add something. If you see a little bit once you've taken the masking tape off and you think, ooh, you see? What did I say about that masking tape, thinking we've given her an easy go? See that? A bit of paper there. Yeah, so just because you've taken the masking tape off doesn't mean you can't add something, but of course it does mean you can't go to the edge. There we go. All done and all removed. So there's the big reveal. And sometimes you'll go, you know what? I actually like it up that way better. And that's not unusual either. So if you've liked the video and you've got something out of it, please feel free to give it the thumbs up. I'd be very grateful. And as I said, I'm not even going to say subscribe to my channel because I've got no idea if there's going to be another video after this. It all depends on you. If you like it, thumbs up, and check back and see if I've done another one in the future, and leave your comments too. Okie doke, thanks very much. I hope you've got something out of this. Bye now.